Number 10. Dark Claw. One of the coolest looking hero matchups to come out of the Amalgam universe in my opinion. The hero known as Dark Claw is a combination of Batman and Wolverine named Logan Wayne. Like our familiar Batman, Wayne witnessed his parents' murder at a young age and then was sent off to live with his uncle in Alberta. However, that did not last very long because his uncle was murdered as well and Wayne was sent to live in a home run by nuns. Once old enough, he enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force alongside a man named Creed H. Quinn, and the two of them were submitted to the Weapon X program, aka the Canadian Super Soldier program. It was there that the Wolverine half of this character came to be, as it was here he learned of his metamutant powers and had his bones fused with adamantium. Quinn, however, was not so lucky because through the course of the experiments he grew more and more insane and would eventually become the Hyena, a combination of Sabretooth and the Joker and Dark Claw's greatest enemy. Equipped with the powers of Wolverine and the vast knowledge of Batman, Dark Claw is a truly awesome character, so check him out for yourself in his first appearance in 1996's Marvel vs. DC number 3. Number 9. Thomas Wayne. Turns out crime fighting is a genetic thing when it comes to the Wayne family. In the Flashpoint timeline, Bruce is actually the one who's murdered by the robber Joe Chill instead of his parents Thomas and Martha. Now as a result, for reasons similar to his son, Thomas Wayne took up a personal vendetta against crime that led him to taking up the mantle of Batman. But unlike his son, he is much more ruthless in his actions, as he is happy to kill any criminal that gets in his way. Equipped with the same genius intellect and hand-to-hand combat skills you would expect from any Batman, this version of the Caped Crusader has also been seen with multiple firearms, and also an Amazonian sword. Thomas secretly funds his war on crime through his business, Wayne Casinos, and thanks to this he's able to fight some of the most notorious villains Gotham's ever seen. One being his own wife, Martha Wayne, the Joker of this timeline. So if you're not familiar with the Flashpoint timeline, I highly recommend you take a look at some of the storylines it follows. So check out this grittier version of Batman for yourself in his first appearance in Flashpoint Volume 2, Number 1, so you can fully understand why he considers himself to be a man with too much blood on his hands to be considered good. Number 8. Grim Knight. This version of Batman is from the Dark Multiverse and serves under the Batman Who Laughs as basically a gun for hire, acting as his second in command. In his timeline, Bruce's origin story is pretty much the same as his Prime-Earth counterpart, however, he kills Joe Chill right after the murder of his parents when Chill drops his gun and gives him the opening. For the next several years, Bruce traveled the world honing his skills as an assassin and eventually returns to Gotham City to strike fear into the criminals' hearts as this universe's Batman. He has done some truly terrible things, such as making Jim Gordon watch as he made two highly explosive blimps crash into both Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Penitentiary, or when he tortured Mayor Harvey Dent with radiation until he was allowed to put up surveillance cameras all over Gotham. Sure, all that made Gotham a much safer place, but there was definitely a better method to it. With a full arsenal of weapons hid around the city of Gotham and on his person, the Grim Knight is truly merciless and not someone you want to mess with. First appearing in 2019's The Batman Who Laughs Volume 2, Number 1, Grim Knight truly shows how dark a Batman who kills can be. Number 7. Damian Wayne. Now let's jump to a possible future here for a second and take a look at a version of Damian Wayne who took up the mantle of Batman in Bethlehem. In this possible future, Bruce Wayne retired as Batman and Dick Grayson took up the mantle. However, he was killed by some explosive Jokerfish and Damian stepped up to the plate as Batman. Unlike his father and Dick Grayson, Damian's Batman in this future is more willing to injure and kill opponents if he judges it necessary to do so, and this is pretty easy for him to do because he has always been pretty violent and definitely has the know-how to take down anyone and anything. Now, it's heavily implied that in this possible future, Damian made a literal deal with the devil, exchanging his soul for immortality and the healing abilities he felt he needed to protect Gotham. And he felt this had to be done because he couldn't measure up to his predecessors, being his father and Dick Grayson. Using the city of Gotham as a weapon itself by setting traps throughout it, we've seen this Batman go up against the likes of Two-Face in order to save a young Terry McGinnis, who he eventually takes under his Batwing, training him to become the next Batman. Why not check out this possible future for yourself in 2007's Batman number 666. Number 6. Batman 1 Million. In the far-off 853rd century, criminals and crime fighters are still very prevalent, and the most dangerous criminals are actually imprisoned on the planet Pluto and overseen by this new Batman. Their secret identity is not known, but we do know that he was one of the children that Zaran forced to watch their parents murder, and from that day on, he swore to never let such a tragedy happen again. They chose the symbol of the bat because he thought it stood for something more than just fear, stating it stood for justice and as an ideal. He studied for years on end, honing his fighting skills and knowledge in as many physical and mental techniques as possible, and all of that eventually paid off because he was eventually offered a position on the new incarnation of the Justice League alongside Superman and Flash 1 Million. After years of working together, they all went back in time to invite the Justice League of the 20th century to see the rebirth of the first Superman, Superman Prime. Much to their surprise, their companion Starman betrayed them and unleashed a plague onto Earth, and with the real Justice League being unable to stop them, Justice Legion Alpha stepped in to help them. Batman 1 Million worked with the 20th century Batman to find a way to stop Starman's plan, along with Dick Grayson and Tim Drake, using the technology of the Batcave, and together, they were able to stop his plan. ending with Starman returning to the light once more to stop what he had done. Give this storyline a read for yourself, starting with 1998's JLA number 23. Number 5, The Devastator. On Earth -1 comes the Devastator, a terrifying hybrid of Batman and Doomsday. Now on this Earth, Superman has gone corrupt and goes on a killing spree, leaving Batman the only person to stop him. With no other option, Batman goes to his last resort and injects himself with a modified version of the Doomsday virus, turning him into the villain that it's named after and giving him the power to take down his friend once and for all. Unfortunately for him, his victory was short-lived as the virus began to spread quickly and destroy everything around him, and he was then recruited by the Batman Who Laughs just moments before the destruction of his world. The Devastator represents Batman's fear of losing hope, how important his friendship with Superman is, and both the fear and regret that he can't truly trust the Man of Steel. Number 4, The Merciless. As the name suggests, this version of Batman is not one to be taken lightly. From Earth -12, Bruce and Wonder Woman have been locked in a 2-year battle to subdue the God of War Ares because he created a helmet that amplifies one's powers 100-fold. The two were able to get the helmet off of Ares, but Wonder Woman was incapacitated in the process. Grief and anger fueled, Batman decides to don the helmet, believing he could wear it without losing himself. However, once Ares was slain, Bruce was turned into a merciless warrior. So addicted to the power, he went as far to kill Diana, the woman he loved more than anything after she tried to take the helmet off of him. With pretty much unlimited power, Bruce waged a war on the entire world, killing villains first and eventually getting to the point where he murdered his fellow heroes until there was no one to stop him. The Merciless represents Batman's fear of what he would become if he started killing, how Wonder Woman helps him see the good in others, and his regret that he can't end his crusade since villains keep coming back. Number 3, Murder Machine. With an identical upbringing as the Batman we all know and love, Earth -44's Bruce Wayne ended up with one more tragic death in his life, the murder of his butler Alfred. Blaming himself for Alfred's death, Bruce enlisted the help of Cyborg to create the Alfred Protocol, a powerful AI and hologram with the intent of keeping Bruce safe at all costs. Within one day of the Alfred Protocol being up and running, it had executed all of the criminals in Arkham Asylum as he deemed them a threat to Bruce. Eventually, Bruce started to doubt his abilities to keep himself safe and relied on the AI Alfred heavily, having him remove his ability to feel fear and sadness and then replace his entire body with a mechanical one that would never fail him. This was the birth of the Murder Machine, and thus began this Earth's demise. Murder Machine represents Batman's fear of not being as self-sufficient as he thinks, his father-son relationship with Alfred, and the regret of cutting off other people. Number 2, the Red Death. Once the hero of Gotham, this Bruce Wayne was forced to seek a more extreme approach to prevent crime after losing all of his Robins. Feeling he wasn't fast enough, Bruce set his eyes on the Flash, deeming himself more worthy of the Speed Force than Barry Allen. After defeating Barry, Bruce drove them both into the Speed Force using the Batmobile after it was combined with the Cosmic Treadmill. The two merged together and became the Red Death, using his newfound powers to kill instead of stopping crime, which was much to Barry's dismay as his consciousness was still very much alive in Bruce's body. The Red Death represents Batman's fear of losing members of the Bat family, his love for them, and regret for those he failed. And his dialogue and Speed Force infection imply that he might also represent Batman's fear of getting old and the old age slowing him down. And number 1, the Batman Who Laughs. Now I know we were all waiting for this one. Hailing from the Dark Multiverse, we have Earth -22's Bruce Wayne, also known as the Batman Who Laughs. After an all-out assault from the Joker against Gotham, Bruce completely loses it and snaps the Joker's neck, which causes a mysterious gas to leak from the Joker's mouth into Bruce's body. This led to the mad descent of Bruce's sanity and his transformation into the Joker-Batman hybrid known as the Batman Who Laughs. With the abilities of the Joker and Batman combined, alongside the Jokerized Robins known as the Dark Robins, the Batman Who Laughs assembled the darkest and twisted versions of Batman across the Dark Multiverse and created the Dark Knights in order to wreak havoc on the world. Why not check him out for yourself in his first appearance, Dark Days, the casting number 1, and you'll definitely understand why he's number 1 on this list.
Number 10, the Batman from Red Sun. While we will be focusing on Batman here from Earth 30, the reality of Superman Red Sun, it should be noted that there are more, and that really the symbol of Batman is what is so powerful here. However, it all started with one man who we aren't even given the true name of. We simply know him as Batman. It was his mission to take down the man responsible for his parents' murder, Pyotr Roslov. In his attempt to get to Roslov, however, he ended up being pitted against the Soviet hero Superman, aka the Red Sun. Batman almost succeeded in defeating Superman here, but Wonder Woman unexpectedly became free of her bonds, turning the tides of the fight in Superman's favor. In the end, Batman decided to take his own life rather than be captured, blowing himself up but confessing to Superman beforehand the truth about the corrupt Roslov, and in so doing achieved his mission. While the original Batman died, others would later take his place in the fight for justice, inspired by the story stories of his heroism. Number 9. Owlman. Owlman isn't a direct alternate version of Bruce Wayne, as he's the older brother of Bruce on Earth 3, Thomas Wayne Jr., the elder son of Martha and Thomas Wayne. However, he is the equal counterpart to main continuity Bruce, considering his place on the crime syndicate as their Batman, and so for that, we're going to include him here. When Thomas was younger, he orchestrated the death of his own parents as he believed they were squandering and mismanaging his inheritance, the family wealth. He even tried to get his younger brother Bruce, whom he loved dearly, to join him, but Bruce actually ended up getting cold feet, and Thomas as such was forced to kill him. As Owlman, Thomas is much more dangerous, as he does not have the same moral code as main continuity Batman, but is at the same level when it comes to his intellect, training, and skills. And his plans. He's pretty good at plans too. And friends, before we move on to this next spot, if you are loving this list and you want more powerful alternate versions of Batman, be sure to let us know by giving this video a thumbs up. 2 bat thumbs up. Do bats have thumbs? I don't think so. They have like little fingers on their wings. I think that's what they have. Little claws. Number 8. Richard Grayson. Dick Grayson is another alternate version of Batman who took up the cape and cowl following Batman's supposed death. Being that he's been trained and pretty much prepared to take up the mantle his whole life, being Batman's first Robin, Nightwing makes for a pretty powerful alternate Batman. Controversial opinion, perhaps, but despite his following in Batman's footsteps in terms of his moral code, I would say he is still a more powerful alternate than Owlman. I know some people might say like not having morals makes you more powerful, but I digress. At one point actually, he and Owlman teamed up and almost enacted a plot to take down the crime syndicate together. Dick comes with years of training and is known for his genius intellect, forensic skills, is a master martial artist, and would go on to become a very capable spy and develop espionage skills later on when he infiltrates Spiral. During his time as Batman, following the events and apparent death of Batman in Final Crisis, Grayson would fight alongside Damian Wayne, who acted as his sidekick Robin. Number 7. Father Bruce. You might refer to him as Bat Priest based on this art, but his real name is Father Bruce, and he is the head priest of the House of Milk and Honey, a new version of the Gather House. Father Bruce makes an appearance in Milk Wars, the Young Animals imprint crossover with the DC main world and characters. He is prominently featured in part 2 of the crossover in the Mother Panic and Batman special. The thing is, Father Bruce isn't really an alternate, but he's so cool, and this story is just so bizarre and great that I thought we needed to mention him here. I actually checked this out and then I was like, man, I gotta read Mother Panic, because I believe the writer of Mother Panic is the one that writes this comic. I'm sorry, I don't remember their name off the top of my head, but you should check it out. Father Bruce is a version of Batman who has been twisted into a priest. Here, Father Bruce is in charge of a small army of Robins known as the Holy Sidekick Choir of Merciful Justice, who he teaches using his book of Bat Manners and divine wisdom. They drink the milk created by Mother Partake, who does so in an eerie manner. She kind of creates it with her fingers, it's really weird, and have their histories rewritten by a golden machine. Bruce himself is trapped here until Mother Panic, aka Violet Page, manages to free him and he returns to his old self. But even in this alternate persona, he's pretty mighty. Also in this delusional, brainwash created reality, Bruce believes it is a priest crashing through his window, not a bat, that inspired him to take up the mantle of Father Bruce and become a priest. I just love that. I just love that he's like crashes through the window and he's like, who are you? And then he's like, I will become a priest, as he like drinks the milk. Oh, it's such a weird story, I like it. Number 6. Man Bat Batman. Now I know Taylor on his part 1 had Batman, aka Earth 43 turned vampire bats, but I figured why not bring you another vampiric version of the hero, because I also just really love vampires and they're powerful. This alternate version of Batman is not actually a Bruce Wayne alternate, but instead is an alternate version of Kirk Langstrom, who we know in the main continuity as Man-Bat. Kirk Langstrom here was working on a cure for cancer, specifically lymphoma, which he himself suffered from. He did end up creating a serum that cured him, yay, but regrettably, due to its ties to bats, it also turned him into a pseudo-vampire. As a vampire created by science, Langstrom became a part of the new superhero Holy Trinity in The Gods and Monsters. He possessed superhuman strength, durability, agility, and could fly, and also held onto his genius intellect. The one downside of his vampirism was that he did require blood in order to live. Comparable but somewhat different to Marvel's Morbius, who is also known as a pseudo-vampire.
Number 5. Wayne Williams. Williams. No, not that Wayne Williams. If you don't get my reference, don't worry, I'll explain. But aside from the name, this alternate version is pretty neat. So Wayne Williams is from the Just Imagine series, wherein the DC characters are re-envisioned as invented by Stan Lee, and it's published through DC Comics, so fun collab. His Batman is Wayne Williams, so his dad's a cop who gets killed in the line of duty, and then he goes down a bad path and he gets framed by a gang leader of Hands, with a Z, and then he vows revenge. He dresses as a bat because he becomes a wrestler to save money. So why is he Batman? Cuz, why not? But aside from that, it's an interesting story, and I like how hard his Batman mask goes. But his name... This came out in 2001, so there's no excuse. Wayne Williams is the name of the Atlanta child murderer. He was arrested in 1981. Just why? It's so uncomfortable. I feel like I'm on a watch list for saying his name so many times. Who else has your name? Have you ever looked it up? If it's a murderer, you're Google proof. Number 4. Telltale Batman. These games, quality content. The fun thing about them is that you spend so much time as Bruce Wayne as well as being Batman, and Bruce Wayne's life is stressful. You can actually just deal with problems as Bruce Wayne, so in a way I guess this number could be retitled You're a cool alternate Batman. Seriously though, playing as Batman is great fun, be it Telltale or Arkham, and everybody does it a little differently. Everybody's Batman is a little bit different. With Telltale you could also crowd play, which involved other people getting to watch and decide with you. Big fan, super fun. Playing with friends or future friends. I'm so peppy today, what's wrong with me? Bring back Bitter Betty. Number 3. Batman Gotham by Gaslight. This is the official first Elseworld story, even though it wouldn't be labeled that way, and really there were more, but they didn't think of them that way until later. Also, it has a sequel everybody forgets about, Batman Master of the Future, which is a great title because it could mean whatever you want it to. So, the year is 1889. Batman, go. So Bruce is studying under Freud, and he tells him about this recurring dream he has about doing his taxes. Just kidding, it's about the night his parents were killed. So he decides to go back to Gotham, and once there he finds a city overrun with gangs and grisly murders. Upon being shown a very Joker-style crime, Bruce is inspired to become Batman. And he takes on a series of crimes that look an awful lot like the Ripper murders. So of course it's up to Batman to solve them and get falsely accused of them. Bruce is getting falsely accused left, right, and center. He just needs to not do anything. But even then, he'd probably still get accused of something. Also, this comic has a movie adaptation that changes the ending a la Hush, because that's a thing DC is doing now. Why? I have no idea. Like when the movie Watchmen changed the monster from the comics, I got it, and actually, unpopular opinion, thought it really worked. But this, well, now you have to read and watch to know what I'm talking about and how you feel about it. Number 2. Vampire Batman from the Batman Dracula trilogy. Of course, we have to talk about everybody's favorite vampire trilogy, Red Rain, Bloodstorm, and Crimson Mist. All centered around Batman's descent further and further into vampirism. This series is dark and gothic, the art is haunting, and Vampire Batman is tragic. Up his guilt to 100%. Now he also has to try to not feed, as he becomes a monster to defeat monsters. There's just a lot of paranormal happenings in this, such as Werecat Selina, and Batman hunting vampires. My favorite is probably Bloodstorm, but the art of Batman and Crimson Mist is terrifying. They actually revisited it recently at the time of this recording with The Secrets of Sinister House, which has a really heartbreaking Vampire Batman story in it. I won't spoil it, but he's trying so hard to not be scary and failing just as hard. It gave me all the feels. And number 1, Langstrom from Justice League Gods and Monsters. This was a direct DC animated movie release that does have a comic book tie-in that came after, or well, at the same time, horizontal marketing. This release created a whole alternate Earth and world just cuz, and it's really neat. So in this world, Langstrom, who is Man-Bat in main continuity, becomes Batman after he accidentally turns himself into a vampire while trying to find a cure for lymphoma, and he involved the saliva of vampire bats. Big no-no. So he's cursed to be a creature of the night. He would spiral out of control until he met Superman, and the two would become friends and form the base of the Justice League, along with Becca of New Genesis, filling the role of Wonder Woman. This one is just a solid story because it goes for it and is like, where are Bruce, Clark, and Diana? Don't know and don't care, and neither should you. And you know what? You really don't. Well, I didn't anyway. Do you?
Kicking off the list at number 10. Bat Baby. We get a grown Robin and a baby Batman. What a treat. Making his first little baby steps in Batman issue 147. In fact, this is the 600th time Batman appeared in comics. So it was a pretty big deal at the time, and to this day, it's known as one of the most ridiculous comic books of all time. And I have to agree. It says Story of the Year on the cover, and that is not a lie. So what in the baby genius is happening here? Well, Nails Finney and his gang, including Garth, the renegade scientist, made a a shrink ray. And it works like a charm, evidently. The thing is, it only shrank him. He wasn't sitting around all day filling his diaper and licking door handles. No, he had the same strength as regular size B-Man plus the brains. So he packed quite a punch in a little body. And he was okay with it too. He kind of leaned into the lifestyle a bit. He said if Gangland is calling him a baby, then he might as well dress like a baby too. Black jorts, little cape, he got the job done, whatever it took. Number 9. Bizarro Batman. Created by Bizarro #1 as a Batman duplicate, the world's worst detective made his first comic book appearance in World's Finest issue 156. I was going to use Bizarro Batman as number 10, but like Bat Baby, I had to. He's a baby, come on. I love Bizarro Batman. He speaks and thinks the exact opposite of Batman's true intentions. Like other Bizarros, their main weakness is blue kryptonite, an artificial isotope. Perhaps one of the best/worst features of this version of Batman has to be the useless utility belt. He did not have gadgets that saved the day stored in there. No, he had cigarette butts, chewing gum that, yes, had already been chewed, just a sticky mess in one of those. He had bottle caps, rusty nails, ashes, cigar ashes, and banana peels. Okay, like the nails and the banana peel, sure, I can maybe see like a Home Alone type trap coming from this guy. I wouldn't say the belt is totally useless, just really smelly. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, that would be so great. We'd actually love that here, wouldn't we, Chris? We totally would. You guys are the best. Thank you so much. Now let's get right back to this alternate Batman list. Number 8, Prohibition Batman. Elliot Ness made his first appearance in Batman's Scar of the Bat, and he was a federal agent. His primary target is the one and only Al Capone. So this takes place during, of course, the Prohibition era in Chicago, and Elliot was part of a team referred to as the Untouchables, where he would stand alongside Danny Rasher, Frank Basile, and George Kochen. Now the best part of this comic isn't the fact that Batman is carrying a Tommy gun on the cover, that's close, but Elliot Ness was a real person in real history. The Untouchables were real. Back in 1903, Elliot Ness led this team. He didn't have a cape, but he did have a beautiful comb over. Imagine if he knew that he became Batman in an alternate reality. I wonder if he read the early issues. Wild. Food for thought. Number 7, Sir William. This one comes straight from Earth 9. So back in 1997, DC Comics launched Tangent Comics, which was a new take on our hero's backstory. Always a good time. So as you guessed from the name, Sir William, yes, this Batman was straight out of the Arthurian times. Sir William was a knight of King Arthur's Round Table, but things got a little messy once Morgan Le Fay seduced him and convinced him to fight King Arthur using her magic. So he was confined to his own castle. Quite the punishment. Must be rough. Hey, here's your own castle, Sir William. Hope you like stargazing. And that's it. And candles. That's the weird thing about castles. They're kind of boring. They're beautiful, but definitely boring. Sir William did have a solution, however. He discovered that he had the ability to project his spirit into his armor and then have that walk free. What an ultimate gift. Could you imagine that as an excuse? Hey guys, sorry I'm late. My spirit got stuck in traffic. What'd I miss? Number 6, Batman the Wild. This version's wild. Making his first appearance in Batman Dark Joker the Wild back in 1994, this version is... look at him. He's a literal monster, and as far as the miniseries go, it's pretty trippy. See, Batman was the child of 2 sorcerers this time around, Magister and Lilandra, and when he was created purely to take down their greatest foe, the Dark Joker. Very Harry Potter vibes going on here. In usual Batman fashion, his parents got wiped out at a young age, but instead of beatboxing in an empty mansion, he grew up in solitude as a monster living in the wilderness. Batman discovered that he has an older sister, Sarisa, so she shows him the ropes, she cultured him, and that's about all she had the chance to do, as the Dark Joker took her out as well. Tragedy in any universe for this guy. The wild monster Batman ended up hucking Dark Joker out of a window, of course screaming to his deceased family all the while. And he scratched his mouth. That's actually how he got those scars, from Batman's dirty nails.
Number 5, the Merciless. Batman with the powers of God of War Ares. God Power Batman. He comes to us from Earth -12 and is created because of Wonder Bat. This is why Batman and Wonder Woman can't be together, even though I wish for it so much. See, he goes crazy without his womans. Although, this is just supposed to be wartime camaraderie sadness, which I say, sure Jan. After it appears that Wonder Woman is dead, Batman dons the helmet of Ares to avenge her, and is all, no, it's fine, I'll be able to control it, but of course he couldn't, and he ended up turning into a vengeful and bloody force. Though it turned out, that Wonder Woman was alive and he'd snapped for nothing. The tragedy of it all. So, regular Batman versus Ares Batman. No fighting gods as immortal and winning. Stop it. Number 4, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. So there are some who will claim that this is the true Batman. So the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh was first introduced in the Silver Age, and he was an alien. He appeared in the story Batman, the Superman of Planet X. This was in 1958. However, years later, this concept would be reworked by Grant Morrison, where he started to unveil the costume and started making references to it in his storylines. What it was revealed to be was that Batman of Zur-En-Arrh is another persona of Bruce's, the psychotic version, the result of hypnotic suggestion triggers placed there by Dr. Simon Hurt. This Batman will torture, he will kill, and that makes him far more dangerous than Bruce. It means that this Batman won't hesitate. Isn't this Batman just Bruce Wayne, you say? Yes, but with New 52 and Rebirth in between this presentation, we've seen characters return reworked. Look at Deathwing. So this could happen, and in a battle like this, Batman could conceivably lose, especially after Tom King's run. Number 3, the Batman Who Laughs, from Earth -22. This version has become the most well-known of all the Dark Knight's metal. He is a Jokerized version of Batman, created after Bruce inhaled toxins emitted from the Joker's corpse after he snapped his neck. This Batman is supposed to have all of the Joker's cruelty and creativity and madness, but with Bruce Wayne's methodical preparedness, so like a Super Saiyan Joker basically, and some feel that the Joker is already Super Saiyan. This version would prove so popular he would make his way over into the main verse past the Dark Knight's metal arc, and was only defeated when Bruce Wayne teamed up with the Joker, which was one of the eventualities he never saw coming. Mileage varies on that. So Bruce couldn't beat him by himself, he had to go get his nemesis to help. The effects of the Batman Who Laughs are still being felt by the DC Universe, what with the whole infected arc and potentially more. Are you still here for the Batman Who Laughs, or are you done? Number 2, Vampire Batman. The Batman Dracula trilogy has become a classic Batman Elseworlds tale that graced the world with one of the most terrifying versions out there. The way he is drawn is just chilling. This version of Batman is of course as skilled as Bruce, with all the assets being a vampire provides, and the detriments. He's got super strength, hypnotism, that general charm plus menace, mostly menace in this case, some transfiguration. Vampire Batman tries to control his bloodlust, to adhere to a code of no killing or feeding, but the Joker forces him to break it after he gets him to drink from him, and Batman kills him because no one wants a vampire Joker. This Batman made a reappearance in The Secrets of Sinister House, and his story there is just my heart. It tugged on it, and you know how ice cold I am. Number 1, Batmite. Are you triggered? But come on, Batmite is from the 5th dimension. By our standards, he's basically a Q. He can do anything, bend reality to his whim, create a whole new one. Of course he can defeat Bruce Wayne. It just hasn't really come up because he's a super fan. Batmite first debuted in Detective Comics number 267 back in 1959. He's a version of Mr. Mxyzptlk for Batman. I can't say it, so I can't vanquish him. That's Superman's job. He was doing really great over in the Superman comics, so they wanted a version for Batman. Batmite is an annoyance to Batman and tends to send him on zany adventures. Also, he had really punny adventures like Batmite adventures. This character tends to have a pretty polarizing reaction. Some are here for the fun zaniness, while others think it's just awful. What are your thoughts?
Number 10, Thomas Wayne. Although not technically from the Dark Multiverse, I felt this version of Batman should be mentioned because it does have a much darker tone. In the Flashpoint timeline, Bruce is murdered by the robber Joe Chill instead of his parents, Thomas and Martha. And then, as a result, for reasons similar to Bruce, Thomas Wayne took up the personal vendetta against crime, and that led to him taking up the mantle of Batman. But unlike his son, he is much more ruthless in his acts, as he is happy to kill any criminal that gets in his way. By secretly funding his war on crime through his business, Wayne Casinos, Thomas is able to fight some of the most notorious villains Gotham has to offer, one being his own wife, Martha Wayne, the Joker of this timeline. Check out this version of Batman for yourself in his first appearance, Flashpoint Volume 2 Number 1, to see exactly why his wife is turned into the Clown Princess of Crime. Number 9, Saint Batman. An alternate version of Jean-Paul Valley hailing from the Dark Multiverse, who briefly took up the Batman mantle after Bruce was defeated by Wayne, feeling he was more worthy of the title of Batman. After defeating Bruce and the rest of the Bat family, Valley ruled Gotham as Saint Batman. With similar abilities and tech to Bruce Wayne's Batman, Jean-Paul also carries a venom in his suit that temporarily enhances his physical abilities and to superhuman levels. However, this has its own downfalls, as after prolonged use he's become very addicted to it. If you're interested, check out this version of Batman in Tales from the Dark Multiverse, Batman Nightfall Number 1. Number 8. Grim Knight. Now this version of Batman is also from the Dark Multiverse and serves under the Batman Who Laughs as basically a gun for hire, acting as his second in command. In this timeline, Bruce's origin story is pretty much the same as his Prime Earth counterpart. However, he kills Joe Chill right after the murder of his parents when Chill drops his gun and gives him the opening. For the next several years, Bruce traveled the world honing his skills as an assassin and eventually returns to Gotham City to strike fear into the criminals' hearts as this universe's Batman. With a full arsenal of weapons hidden around the city of Gotham and on his person, the Grim Knight is truly merciless and not someone you want to mess with. First appearing in the Batman Who Laughs Volume 2 Number 1, Grim Knight truly shows how dark a Batman who kills can be. Number 7, The Drowned. The first of the Dark Knights on our list today. Coming from Earth number -11. Similar to most Batmans, Bryce Wayne became Batwoman after her father Martin Wayne was murdered in an alley. Later, she becomes romantically involved with Sylvester Kyle, who was also murdered. This sets Bryce on a mission to kill every last metahuman, and after 18 months, she succeeds after killing Aquawoman with her own trident. In retaliation, the Atlanteans submerged all of Gotham and a large sum of the world in water, but Bryce, after many augmentations to her body and Aquawoman's trident, was able to conquer the Atlanteans and submerge the rest of the world in water. The Drowned represents Batman's fear of going too far in the fight against superhumans, his love for Catwoman, and his inability to trust anyone but himself. Number 6, Dawnbreaker. Based on the Bat Lantern from Earth 32, the Dawnbreaker from Earth number -32 is another member of the Dark Knights, with almost the exact origin story as the normal Bruce Wayne, the only difference being that this Bruce was offered a Green Lantern ring right after his parents were killed. Immediately seeking revenge on Joe Chill with his newfound powers, he seeks him out and finds him with incredible ease. At first, the ring struggles against Bruce's intent to kill Chill, but Bruce, with sheer willpower, overpowers the ring and takes Chill out for good. This sets him down a dark path and leads him to the belief that no one can stand in his way on his mission to rid the universe of evil, leading him to be the hero of Gotham that shows no mercy. Thanks to his corrupted Green Lantern ring, Bruce was able to completely overpower the Green Lantern Corps when they came for him, leading him to no longer want to be a Lantern, and instead be Batman the Dawnbreaker. Dawnbreaker represents Batman's fear of how dangerous he would be with superpowers, but lacking his adult discipline. He also represents his inner despair taken to its extremes, and his regret over his inability to move past his parents' death.
Number 5. Red Death. Coming from the Dark Multiverse, Earth 52, first appearing in Dark Days The Casting Issue 1, Red Death Batman used to be a hero who fought alongside Robin in his world. The events that transpired in Batman's life were taking a harder toll on him. He was watching all of these sidekicks just bite the bullet, so he was desperate to find this new power, a new way to get ahead of these horrible crimes. So he looked at his world's Flash. Batman honestly believed that he could use the Speed Force better than the Flash, so he took out all the Flash's villains, stole all their tech, and then he himself fought the Flash, and he was winning. He drove the two of them into the Speed Force because he had merged his Batmobile with the Cosmic Treadmill. That's always fun. And then that's when he absorbed all of Barry's powers. He did it. After Batman came back from the Speed Force, he referred to himself as Batman the Red Death, where he would easily and brutally kill Gotham's rogues. All the while, Barry's consciousness is begging him to stop inside of him. It's kind of like a nightmare, this version. Definitely a nightmare. Number 4, Azrael. Right after the 1993 Nightfall story, when Batman got his back broken by Bane, just absolutely wrecked, he decided to pass the Batman mantle right on to not Dick Grayson. No, instead he chose Jean-Paul Valley, aka Azrael. His run on Batman wasn't the same as Bruce's. I mean, for starters, Azrael's methods were pretty violent and quite irresponsible. In all fairness, he was capable of defeating Bane with his new tricked out batsuit, but this guy thought that he was actually an all-round better Batman and a permanent successor rather than a replacement. Got news for you, pal. So once Bruce did recover, he had to force Azrael to leave the position. Even the style changes were quite drastic. Azrael made more than a few changes to the suit. Now it's black and yellow, this metallic armor, and then he added some other gadgets like claws, dual mag weapons, and of course, a cape. Just to, because he's a hero, he needs a cape. Number 3, Terry McGinnis. The year is 2039, and by this point Bruce Wayne has retired from the crime-fighting life. But meanwhile, Project Cadmus director Amanda Waller was out in search of a replacement, beginning with Project Batman Beyond. A major key element was using Batman's blood samples left over from his altercations, the OG Batman. That, mixed with some nanotech solutions, we now can make the DNA of Bruce Wayne. The future, how lovely. So Amanda found the Warren McGinnis household with Warren and Mary, and the couple was psychologically identical to Thomas and Martha Wayne. Perfect. So when they thought they were going in for a flu shot, they didn't know they were actually about to be the new parents of a new Batman. Amanda almost had both of them taken out to, encourage the lonely road of the Caped Crusader growing up, but thankfully she scrapped that idea. Because we don't need the same origin story, Amanda. Like, give the kid a minute to figure it out. Like, don't have to We don't need to. Turns out you can't avoid fate still, because down the road in Terry's teenage years, his father ended up getting killed, and Terry believed that it was actually the corrupt CEO Derek Powers behind all of it. So he got the help of Bruce Wayne, who was part of the merger with Derek Powers naturally. Then after facing off against the Joker's gang, Terry realized that Bruce was in fact this original Batman. So Terry stole his Batsuit and was determined to find justice himself. The Beyond suit is just awesome. Rocket boots, claws, cloaking device, the red and black, I mean, you can't get any better than that. Number 2. Batman. Coming from Earth 43, Batman is, well, he's just that. He's Batman who doubles down as a vampire. Nice. We see him for the first time in Batman and Dracula Red Reign. His origins are the same for the most part, how he became Batman because of his parents, all that jazz. That's the same. But then when he's patrolling one night, he starts to find victims all with the same injury. Their throats have been just slashed apart. Who could have done this? Why, Dracula himself. That's who. He gets help from a rogue vampire named Tanya, who was once part of Dracula's posse. And Batman is so wild, this guy willingly gets bitten by a vampire to become one, so then he can take on Dracula. Whatever it takes to get the job done, I respect that a lot. And finally, number 1. Batman, the God of all knowledge. The Mobius chair made its first appearance in New Gods issue 1, and the chair itself was created by Mobius, aka the Anti-Monitor. He gave the chair to Metron, but when Metron took his eye off the prize for a minute, Batman ended up becoming the God of all knowledge for a short time. What happened was Wonder Woman grabbed Metron with her lasso, yanked him right off, and then before boom tubes were summoned or anything like that, Batman just took that chance that he had and jumped on the chair. Musical chair style. Then the Dark Knight becomes the bright light. The whole team at this time is fighting Darkseid, and Batman's just floating in the background, just trying to figure out the universe. He's just searching for solutions via the cosmic realm. It's pretty spectacular. Things took a jump to overdrive when he also received a power ring. I thought he was a good detective before, but now, I mean, that's just OP.
Number 10. The Batmage. Batman and magic. Batman isn't one of those heroes who's all magic. What is that? No, he knows it exists and, well, doesn't care for it, but acknowledges that it also has its uses. And so we have an alternate version who was a mage. I just love the idea of a magical Batman, because you know it's dark magic, only the finest sorcery for our Dark Knight. This is Batmage, and he doesn't exist anymore, but that's fine. He lives on in our hearts. This is Earth 33, where technology has advanced because of magic. Here there is a rivalry between the Cobblepots and the Waynes, and a Cobblepot sorcerer murdered Bruce's parents. So it's time for magical vengeance, I mean justice. Initially, Bruce just wanted to learn magic to take down the Cobblepots. The Penguin, not the Penguin, the sorcerer Cobblepot. But the more he studied the dark arts, he realized that evil had permeated into the city itself. And what better way to fight dark magic than with more dark magic? Okay, look, Batman is a fight fire with fire kind of person. He would eventually join the League of Shamans to bring peace to the world. And what happened to him? Well, after Flashpoint, he was erased from existence. Thanks a lot, Barry. Number 9. Batman from Earth 2. So when the multiverse was first introduced, it was just 2 Earths. Earth 1, which was the home of the new Silver Age heroes, so Barry Allen Flash, Hal Jordan Green Lantern, etc. And Earth 2, which was now populated by the Golden Aged heroes, who had also aged the appropriate amount of time between Golden and Silver Ages. However, here's where it gets a little convoluted. Superman and Batman existed on both Earths, but on Earth 2 they were older versions of themselves, who were continuing on with their adventures. This allowed for the birth of in-universe legacy characters. So Batman, Bruce, would age and retire. He would marry Catwoman and have a daughter, Helena Wayne, the Huntress. He would come to a tragic end though, when he would be forced out of retirement and would die in the confrontation. It's grim, yes, but it's cool that it ends. Earth 2 was a solid universe. Good Earth. Would visit. Number 8. Batman, Book of the Dead. An Elseworlds Batman inspired by Egyptian mythology and symbolism. So he's Moon Knight. Okay, real talk. Batman and Moon Knight have always been really different. To all the people saying that Moon Knight is Marvel's Batman, stop. That's real reductionist. That's like saying, so Iron Man is Marvel's Batman. I can feel some of you going, but he is. So in this story, Batman's parents are archaeologists, involved in uncovering a conspiracy of an ancient Egyptian bat god who is erased from existence. So don't look him up, he's not real. I see you, DC. Clever. However, when they uncovered this bat god, they're murdered, because the world is not ready for such knowledge. While young Bruce is inspired by the bat cartouche the murderer was trying to get, and becomes a pretty cool looking Batman. There are 2 issues of this, and it was released in 1999, and I hope you like Stargate, cause major Stargate vibes. Also aliens, cause you know aliens built the pyramids, ancient aliens. Oh, and the bat god's name is Necroon, by the way, or Necron, depends how you want to pronounce it. I love the idea of just bat symbols all over Egyptian hieroglyphs. Bruce is real emo in this comic. It's honestly way better than it has any right to be. Is being inspired by a cartouche better than a bat flying in through your window? I think it is. Number 7. Batman Golden Streets of Gotham. Batman, but during the Industrial Revolution. So Bruno Vainco is a laborer who returns to Gotham after years of working away and is horrified to discover that his parents were burned to death in an industrial fire because of negligence, Batman's true arch nemesis. Also, the boss let them get burnt alive, Joseph Chillingham. So he begins looking for evidence to try and bring him down, but he's inspired to work outside the law. Also, this involved the Joker, Jack Smart. There was all kinds of nefarious stuff going on. He's inspired by Selina, by the way. She's a union boss. His costume that he adopts is very much of the stage, so he looks like a vaudevillian actor running around. I love it. Seriously, go check it out. This is a really cool Elseworlds story. He still adopts Dick Grayson, he works with Alfred, who's in the theater, fun stuff. The whole thing is narrated by old man Dick Grayson. Yeah. Number 6. Bat Lantern. Not Dawnbreaker, no negative multiverse stuff here, and not the ship. For those who got that, you're my people. No, this is Batman from the Elseworlds story in Darkest Night, where Batman is the Green Lantern. So take that, Jeff Johns. Batman can't wield a ring, who's too damaged. 1994 begs to differ. So Batman is just coming off his first crime-fighting night, you know, the terrible one, because that's a thing now. His first night out, awful. Well then, Alvin Sewer crashes nearby and is all, "You're closer than Hal Jordan. Do you take this ring?" So Bruce takes it and awaits instructions from the Guardians. So he becomes a Batman who is also Green Lantern. He has like a fusion costume that really makes me miss the ears, and you get to see him interacting with Hal's supporting cast. So Bruce ends up stopping Sinestro, which sets them up as arch nemeses, and Sinestro is ice cold. He hunts down Joe Chill. Seriously, Joe Chill is not hard to find. You didn't need the big magical comfy chair to tell you this, New 52 Bruce. This is a really credible Batman as the Green Lantern AU. Well thought out and fun to read. I'm down for this universe.
Number 5. Injustice Batman. Batman in Injustice not only has the moral high ground against Superman, who becomes a villain in this reality after the death of Lois Lane and their unborn child at his own hands due to the machinations of Joker and Harley Quinn, but Batman here also possesses the super pill, or more specifically, the 5U93R pill, which kinda spells super if you look at it. This pill, when ingested, allows Batman or his ally, father figure, and loyal butler Alfred to go toe-to-toe with Superman, meeting him on his level when it comes to strength and durability. Number 4. The Merciless. The Merciless is like the Wonder Woman version of the Dark Knights, as each of the core members is kinda meant to be a stand-in for a member of the Justice League. He initially teamed up with Diana Prince, aka Wonder Woman, to take down Ares on his world of Negative Earth 12 in the Dark Multiverse, but after doing so was forced to take Ares' helmet before Wonder Woman could and use it to defeat her. He basically knew that Diana would not allow him to use it otherwise, and so he was like, nah, I kinda gotta take it, otherwise it won't get used. He took up her symbol in her honor and wields the power of Ares, but multiplied. He is amazingly strong and durable, can summon any weapon, influence others to anger or fighting, and is pretty much god level, so yeah. Number 3. Super Batman. Super Batman was the name given to the Batman of Earth 1 when he traveled to Zur-En-Arrh. In the main continuity, Zur-En-Arrh was the name of Batman's alternate persona created when he witnessed the traumatic event of his parents being murdered that resides deep within his psyche. However, initially Zur-En-Arrh was the name given to a faraway planet in the golden age of Batman comics. It first appeared in issue 113 of Batman in the story Batman the Superman of Planet X. Here, Batman of Earth 1 is teleported a great distance to Zur-En-Arrh to aid Batman, the scientist Tlano, who watched Batman from afar through a telescope and was inspired to become the Batman of his own world, so he's also Batman. However, the intergalactic threat that Tlano Batman faces here is too great, and he needs Earth 1 Batman's help. On this planet, Earth 1 Batman's unique Earth-based human physiology makes him super strong, durable, and able to fly. Basically, he becomes Superman in terms of what he's capable of, which also at this time period I feel like would be pretty off the charts. Batman uses his powers to help Tlano and then is returned home afterwards and given one of Tlano's devices to keep as a memento. It doesn't work though, so it's basically just a little bit of junk that he can keep in his trophy case. Yay! Number 2, Darkfather. Darkfather was ultimately beaten by the superhero Holy Trinity, but only while they all kind of had a power upgrade all their own. He hails from the Dark Multiverse and is an alternate version of Bruce Wayne, who defeated Darkseid and took all his power and knowledge for himself afterward. Batman as Darkfather as such is a new god and also wields the anti-life equation, which he uses to influence others and to imprison them, forcing them to obey him and his will. He also has all the brilliance of main continuity Bruce and more. Number 1, Batman Who Laughs. Also known as the Darkest Knight, the Batman Who Laughs is an alternate version that is a combination of Batman and Joker. He comes from the dark multiverse reality of Negative Earth 22, where he as Batman ended up killing the Joker by snapping his neck after being pushed to the brink by the villain, who was dying anyways, admittedly. When he did so, however, he became infected by Joker venom that was released by this very final action. After becoming infected, Bruce went insane and had most of his Bat family killed, except for his biological son, Damian Wayne, who joined his side. Batman Who Laughs would go on to become super powerful after acquiring the powers of Dr. Manhattan when he had his brain transplanted into the body of the Dr. Manhattan Batman alternate. The Darkest Knight, even before this power upgrade, was already pretty powerful because 1, he was super popular, which always gives characters power, and 2, he was a mentally ill genius, which made him extremely deadly and dangerous to take on and kinda unpredictable. He also often fought against the superheroes he came up against with dark metal, in some cases managing to infect them and in so doing recruit them to his own dark army. Plus he's got all those dark knights, so that's just another thing.
Number 10, Dawnbreaker. Starting off with one of the Batmen from the Dark Knight's Metal event, which showed the world the Dark Multiverse, a multiverse where all the negative occurrences had happened, and lots of them seemed to involve a Batman who had gone rogue, and as a result, destroyed the world. Since DC really wants you to believe Batman can do that, he's powered by sales, he can do anything. Dawnbreaker comes to us from Earth Negative 32. Here, after the murder of his parents, being left free of all feelings including fear, Bruce comes into possession of a Green Lantern ring, and uses it to kill. He overrides the no-kill safety feature that modern rings have on them. And well, he just goes full villain, using the ring to subdue and become a symbol of terror. Interestingly, the whole what would Batman do with a Green Lantern ring is an old question, and one that has actually been addressed before. This happened in one of the early Batman Elseworlds stories, Batman Darkest Night from 1994. Here, Bruce gets a ring that just becomes a normal Green Lantern and stays a good person. The changes in depiction of Batman in just the span of a few decades are staggering. With a ring and all the constructs he should be able to create, Batman with a ring should be able to take out Bruce Wayne, as long as writers don't go full Ozymandias with him. 35 minutes ago. Number 9, the Midnighter. The Midnighter has now been folded into DC and is just a character in their universe, and he also flirted a lot with Dick Grayson, so that makes the Bruce Wayne comparisons a bit icky. But when Midnighter first debuted, he was a member of the Authority, who were over at Wildstorm Comics. And he was an analog for Batman, a clear stand-in and commentary, but one with whom they could also do their own thing, like have him marry their Superman analog Apollo. The Midnighter is genetically enhanced, with faster speed, reflexes, strength, endurance, and mental capacity. He should by all rights be able to, all things being equal, win in a fight against Bruce Wayne, even though he did lose in a fight to Dick Grayson in Grayson, but Dick had some spy tech there. Number 8, Red Death. This Bruce Wayne comes to us from Earth Negative 52. On this Earth, Bruce was doing his thing, fighting crime, but all of his Robins, they didn't make it. And while it slowly began to drive Bruce mad. So Bruce went full Minority Report and decided he needed to stop crimes before they happened. And what better way to do that than with the Speed Force? So he got Barry and then drove him on the cosmic treadmill with the Batmobile, and thusly he absorbed the Flash's powers. Cosmic Batmobile treadmill. And he became Red Death. With his newfound speed, he begins murdering his rogues gallery. Cause what better way to stop people from committing crimes than by making sure they're dead? A Batman with super speed, the fastest man alive. Regular Batman can't deal with that. Too fast. Or at least he shouldn't be able to, but I know some of you will be like, he has a contingency plan for the Flash, so he should be able to stop him, the Flash version of himself. Number 7, Thomas Wayne. We were first introduced to Thomas as Batman in Flashpoint, that storyline where Barry went back in time to save his mom and succeeded, only to ruin the entire rest of the world. It was about to be destroyed because of a war between the Atlanteans and the Amazons. Also, Bruce died in the alley in that story, so his dad became Batman and his mom became the Joker, because it only takes one bad day. Killing Joke reference. Thomas Wayne has managed to make his way over to the main verse, and many seem to feel that he is more skilled, more dedicated, and just more hardcore than Bruce. He's also supposed to be a darker version, like a warped mirror. I don't know. I miss right after Barry ruined everything by creating the New 52, and he brought Bruce a letter from his own dad, and Bruce read it and had a moment. His letter said how proud his dad was of him. He cried, but let them fight. I don't know, let them hug. Number 6. DC 1 million. This story takes place in the 853rd century, which was actually picked because if DC had stayed concurrently publishing, that would be the year that they would hit their 1 millionth issues. So the Batman here chose the name because of the legacy and the many Batmen who had come before. He is spurred into action after a breakout on the prison planet Pluto. This is instigated by the master criminal, Zoron. After his takeover using the laughing virus, he took the guards and their spouses into an arena and killed them in front of their kids. And there was one kid there who knew his narrative duty, to become Batman. So what does this Batman have that Bruce Wayne does not? Well, for one thing, he's telepathic. That's a huge asset. Even though I know Batman has trained to resist telepaths because there are some on the team. But future Batman also has enhanced intelligence and advanced scientific and mechanical aptitude, which just means that he knows more because future tech is different. Still, someone from the future with telepathy and better tech? Look out, Bruce Wayne.
Number 5. Batmouse. Coming from the JLA, of course meaning just a lot of animals, we meet the Caped Crusader from Earth C-, and it's perhaps one of the cutest versions of Batman, so I had to include him, with Batbaby aside. He's also pretty cute. You can find Batmouse go against the also adorable Joker Pig in Captain Carrot and his amazing zoo crew, issue 14. What a great name, Captain Carrot, that's lovely. The whole thing obviously is fun and games, especially with the first page. We see Wonder Wabbit, Green Lampkin, and next to Batmouse is this trusty sidekick, Boyd the Robin Wonder. How cute! Now the best part is that this is one of the few alternate universes to survive Crisis on Infinite Earths, so he's still out there. A silent guardian, a watchful protector, a dark knight, who's also a mouse. Number 4, Thrill Killer. Back in 1997, we got a pretty neat what-if scenario in DC Comics. Thrill Killer issue 1, we find Bruce Wayne on Earth 37, and his parents were actually killed by their servants at this time around. So there's no fortune to fall back on afterwards. The whole operation just collapsed in on itself. So Bruce now focused on law enforcement, eventually becoming a detective for Gotham City Police Department. He was one of the few good ones. He got this case handed to him where he had to track down and capture Batgirl and Robin. This case was his last though, due to the fact that he ended up being framed for the death of Selina Kyle. Bianca Steeplechase framed him, also amazing last name. So he became a fugitive after this. Bruce did eventually join Batgirl as Batman, and then they attacked the mob, all that good stuff, but after Steeplechase was taken down, Bruce was appointed commissioner, retiring the Batman side of his life. Number 3, Emo Batman. Coming from the Elseworlds 80-page giant issue 1 back in 1999, Bruce Wayne was a moody teen, full of angst and of course, a love and lust for pop music. Like all of us. He was one of the members of the group the Pennyworths, who was discovered by Lex Luthor himself, and then they signed with Lex Records. How sick. Lex ended up dropping the group because Bruce was getting a little lost in the sauce. Some narcotic use was keeping him in a dark place. You gotta keep it clean, Bruce. How else are you going to play at Coachella? Think. I already bought my tickets, man. Rain or shine. Number 2, Black Masterpiece Batman. Black Masterpiece is an Elseworlds story as well, and it's perhaps one of my favorite versions. Elseworlds Annual Issue 18, Black Masterpiece shows us a fun alternate past where the young apprentice of Leonardo da Vinci became the first ever Batman. The woman posing for the Mona Lisa, she ends up getting kidnapped. Mid-pose, she's like, what? She ends up getting kidnapped, and it's a fun story because it's current day, and then all of a sudden it's old-timey Batman, nice little back and forth. So Bruce Wayne tracking down stolen artwork sounds like a boring time, but the 1994 classic is all but Number 1. Leatherwing. The captain of the Flying Fox, a 17th century privateer making his first swashbuckle in Detective Comics Annual Issue 7. Leatherwing is a pirate version of Batman, not a pirated version, a literal pirate version of him. How great does that sound right off the bat? This dude resides in the barnacle-filled Earth 494, and Captain Leatherwing sailed the seas with his first mate Alfredo, and soon met Robin Redblade, Prince of the Urchins and Bloody Terror of the Kingston Docks. Look, Batman's British, Alfredo is an Italian dude who constantly disagrees with him, and yes, to answer your burning question, Leatherwing fights with a sword. Even though his parents were both killed by a sword. Odd little parallel there. The Flying Fox, the ship, is actually a nod to Zorro, who in regular continuity was an influence on Bruce Wayne. Zorro is Spanish for fox, so the Flying Fox, you got it. If you loved this read, you must check out the follow-up, also written by Chuck Dixon. It's called The Blade of Leatherwing, featuring Capitana Felina in the spotlight this time around, and Admiral Cobblepot as the new antagonist. Just blast the Pirates of the Caribbean theme song while you read this, and you're gonna have the best time ever. I promise. Kicking off the list at number 10, we have Dawnbreaker. This version of Bruce Wayne first appeared in Dark Days The Casting, Issue 1, residing in, of course, the Dark Multiverse on Earth 32. The story picks up with the usual Bruce Wayne origins. His parents are both taken out by Joe Chill that night, but here, young Bruce Wayne comes into contact with a Green Lantern ring. So Bruce approaches Joe, and he's pretty pissed at this point. He's going for blood right off the bat. He ended up turning Joe Chill into bones and dust. And then when Bruce met Gordon, they got off on the wrong foot initially as well. Gordon greets him, and he's like, Green Lantern, wasn't sure you'd show up. And then Bruce straight up's like, hey man, don't threaten me. Really awkward vibes, just quick awkward vibes right off the bat, no friendship there. He was taking out Gotham's villains super quick. Each time he did it, he would scream and yell about how much his parents deserved to not be dead. He flew the Penguin into outer space. That's how you handle a guy right there. You take him and you go, right off planet. Okay, so with all of these brutal assassinations, the rest of the Green Lanterns knew they had to come and put a stop to this madness. Only it wasn't that easy. Bruce destroyed all of them. He executed the entire Guardians of the Universe. Beware his power, Dawnbreaker's might. And before we continue on with this list, if you want to go ahead and give us a thumbs up, that would be awesome. It helps our channel out and the studio quite a bit. You guys are super supportive. Thank you so much. Click, 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 and then we'll continue. Okay, let's do it. Number 9, Speeding Bullets Batman. There's a name. This Elseworld storyline showed us what would happen if Kal-El's ship did not crash land in Smallville, but rather it landed in Gotham. So when the inevitable did happen and his parents were attacked and killed that night, Bruce Wayne, real named Kal-El, used his alien powers and unwillingly killed the robbers. His powers just came out in the form of heat vision. Toast. They didn't make it at all. No chance. And after this point, Bruce Wayne wasn't the same. He was ruthless. He had the powers of a god and so much anger, guilt, and pain inside. He had no idea what to do with this. So he would just repeat over and over, the bullets, the bullets, the bullets. Like he was in bad shape mentally. He hid from the world in his mansion of solitude, and he couldn't even look at photos of anything related to death as it was super triggering. And then one night, a group of robbers tried to invade said house, but again, heat vision wins this round. Didn't make it. A little older and a little wiser, Kal-El decided that now is time to use his powers to get the job done. Help out, you know, be a role model. He took up the identity of the Batman, but still, just because he rocked the cape doesn't mean he was doing all the right things. For example, when Lois Lane was kicked out of Lex Luthor's limo later on, she was about to be attacked by thugs, but Batman came in and burned their flesh while splintering their bones. Or you could fly them to jail. Or vaporize their eyes. That works too. You can vaporize their eyes. That's sure, that gets the job done. Number 8, Darkclaw. Veering out of the Dark Multiverse for a hot minute, we have to talk about Darkclaw. Coming from the Amalgam universe, where DC and Marvel combined powers, literally, we get a Wolverine-Batman mix. He first appeared in Legends of the Darkclaw issue 1 back in 1996, and his origin story is a hot mess. At just age 5, Logan Wayne witnessed the death of his parents. The usual stuff, but then he was sent to live with his uncle in Alberta, Canada. Better bring a jacket. It's cold. His uncle too bit the bullet after poachers ambushed him. So Logan Wayne enlisted in the Royal Canadian Air Force when he was of age, and shortly after was submitted into the Weapon X program. So much amalgam fun. There, Logan got the adamantium treatment, but the Weapon X program was terminated because it was deemed a failure. Why, you ask? Logan Wayne still retained his conscience. So where to go next but to travel the world? Logan studied abroad. He studied a variety of crime-fighting skills in his time. He studied criminology, forensics, martial arts, gymnastics, you name it. This guy learned all 127 major styles of combat. And yes, Thumb Wars is included. You never know, you never know. That mixed with Wolverine's abilities, I mean, you're screwed. Good game. Number 7, 1800s Batman. Batman Gotham by Gaslight, a tale of the Batman, written by Brian Augustin and brought to life by Mike Mignola. Here comes a tale from the Victorian era where Batman is hunting down Jack the Ripper. So it's 1889, and while these attacks are happening over and over, the general public is starting to whisper through the winds and talk amongst themselves in the shadows that maybe, just maybe, it's Batman who is committing these crimes because, well, he's dressed like that. Pretty fair assumption. We love some Victorian drama. Let's get spooky. So we get historic killers here, we get old-timey gangs, Bruce gets framed. It's an entirely new version of Batman, but it's an older take on the Caped Crusader. To see Batman purely rely on his detective skills more than anything makes for a really enjoyable story. I mean, there's no crazy gadgets or cool Batmobile that flicks him up a building. He's just like, I got it, I'm a detective, let's do this. Steampunk Batman for the win. It got the feature film treatment in 2018 with Sam Liu directing, so if you're looking for an old-timey superhero animated flick with Jack the Ripper, there you go. Just made your day. What do you know? Number 6, Thomas Wayne. Coming from the Flashpoint storyline released back in 2011, written by Jeff Johns and Andy Kubert, Thomas Wayne, Bruce's father, was actually the one to become Batman in this timeline. Now in this universe, Bruce Wayne was the one who got shot that fateful night and he bit the bullet. The world of Flashpoint is this altered reality where Barry accidentally ends up in, where Batman is older and much more violent. And not so much as a detective like Bruce. See, what happened was, in this alternate reality, Bruce's mother, Martha, is so traumatized that she becomes the Joker. That's why during the opening credits of Batman vs Superman, we were all pumped in the theater because Jeffrey Dean Morgan and Lauren Cohen, two amazing actors, were in such a small opening scene as Bruce's parents, with zero dialogue. Now with recent set photos of Michael Keaton in the new Flash movie, we're still in for a great time, but we were so close to the best Flash movie with Jeffrey Dean Morgan as a dark Thomas Wayne. Jeffrey Dean Morgan did say on Twitter that ever since Zack Snyder walked away, his whole bit in that world has walked away with him. But we still got Michael Keaton, so it's still fine. It's good. It's good.
Number 5, Owlman. Thomas Wayne Jr. from the Antimatter universe is the son of Thomas and Martha and older brother to Bruce. After his family's murder, he decided to take up the mantle of Owlman. However, unlike Batman, Thomas wanted to conquer the villains he went up with rather than just fight them. Thanks to his father's wealth that he was left as inheritance, Thomas underwent years of training and general enhancement so he could enact his plans of conquering Gotham's crime world. Alongside the other members of the Crime Syndicate, a group who is basically the evil version of the Justice League, they managed to establish and maintain control over a large portion of their Earth, even though they were up against other powerful organizations such as the Young Offenders and the Crime Lodge. Eventually, the Crime Syndicate began kidnapping people from the 52 multiverse matter-based worlds and were visited by our Justice League to retrieve the people from the Justice League Earth. Thomas, along with Superwoman and Ultraman, were banished to a prison subdimension while Johnny Quick and the current Power Ring were captured. Highly recommend you check out the storyline for yourself, so check out Owlman in his first appearance in 2000's JLA Earth 2. Number 4, Azrael. John Paul Valley, the genetically augmented assassin slash vigilante for the group known as the Order of St. Dumas. Now, I said genetically augmented because Valley was a test tube baby and his genetic structure was altered by scientists with an animal DNA which allows him to do the insane feats a normal human could only dream of. Originally an ally and even apprentice of Batman, Azrael was the one to adopt the Batman moniker following the Dark Knight's crippling defeat at the hands of Bane. However, he went insane for a short while during his run as the Caped Crusader and decided to augment the Batsuit so it was capable of causing some serious damage. It was very apparent early on that Azrael's Batman was of a very different breed because he was much more ruthless, okay with killing, and pretty much just wanted to punish the criminals rather than save any lives. Although he was doing a great job of cleaning Gotham City of its criminals, Bruce felt his methods were much too violent and irresponsible and personally removed him from the mantle after his full recovery, causing Valley to return to his identity as Azrael. Valley was presumably killed in a battle against his two greatest foes, Beast and Scratch, as he was shot through his armor by a multitude of Teflon bullets, and only his costume was recovered. 5 years later, another Azrael was created by the Order in ex-police officer Michael Lane. Check out John Paul Valley as both Azrael and Batman, starting with 1992's Batman Sword of Azrael #1. Number 3, Murder Machine. With an identical upbringing as the Batman we all know and love, Earth -44's Bruce Wayne ended up with one more tragic death in his life, the murder of his butler, Alfred. Blaming himself for Alfred's death, Bruce enlisted the help of Cyborg to create the Alfred Protocol, a powerful AI and hologram with the intent of keeping Bruce safe at all times. Within one day, the Alfred Protocol had executed all of the criminals in Arkham Asylum as he deemed them a threat to Bruce. Eventually, Bruce started to doubt his ability to keep himself safe and relied very heavily on the AI Albert, having him remove his ability to feel fear and sadness and replace his body with a mechanical one that would never ever fail him. This was the birth of the Murder Machine and thus began the Earth's demise. Like the other members of the Dark Knights, Murder Machine represents one of Batman's many fears and aspects of his life. This one in particular represents his fear of not being as self-sufficient as he thinks, his father-son relationship with Alfred, and the regret of cutting off other people. Check them out in their first appearance in 2017's Dark Days, the casting, #1. Number 2, the Batman Who Laughs. Obviously, this twisted Batman had to make an appearance on this list today. However, he is not at number 1 because there are definitely some darker Batman out there. Hailing from the dark multiverse, we have Earth -22's Bruce Wayne, also known as the Batman Who Laughs. After an all-out assault from Joker against Gotham, Bruce completely loses it and snaps the Joker's neck, which causes a mysterious gas to leak from the Joker's mouth into Bruce's body. This led to the mad descent of Bruce's sanity and his transformation into the Joker-Batman hybrid known as the Batman Who Laughs. With the abilities of the Joker and Batman combined, alongside the Jokerized Robins known as Groblins or Dark Robins, the Batman Who Laughs assembled the darkest and most twisted versions of Batman across the dark multiverse and created the Dark Knights in order to wreak havoc on the world. In the events of Dark Knight Death Metal, he is seemingly killed by Wonder Woman's new Chainsaw of Truth, but I highly doubt this is the last we will ever see of him. So check him out for yourself in his first appearance in Dark Days, the casting, #1. And finally at number 1 we have Batman Earth 43. Now not a whole lot is known about this Batman's life prior to his introduction, but it can be assumed that it was similar to the Batman origin we're all familiar with. You know, parents' death leads to training, leads to becoming Batman and fighting the likes of the Joker, the Riddler, etc. After discovering that the most famous vampire Dracula is still alive and operating in Gotham City, Bruce realizes that his recent dreams were the result of him being visited by Tanya, another vampire who was once under Dracula's control. Tanya had actually been biting Bruce but hadn't been taking any of his blood. She was instead infusing him with vampiric powers without destroying his humanity. Thanks to these new powers, Batman now possessed some incredibly enhanced senses, super strength, and more alongside his immense knowledge of hand-to-hand combat. With enough power to now kill Dracula, Batman confronts and kills him by impaling the vampire on a tree. However, this win came at a serious cost because Dracula was able to completely drain Batman of all his blood, effectively completing his transformation into a vampire. Fast forward a little bit and we see our vampiric Batman put into a coma thanks to a stake to the heart after his bloodlust and rage causes him to drain the Joker of all his blood. Alfred eventually awoke his master later on because Gotham City was overrun with criminals. However, this was a pretty bad idea because all he did was hunt down his enemies, both new and old, so he could just drain them of all their blood and kill them. He is eventually killed after he walks into the sunlight, hoping he can finally pay for what he did and have some peace, but he is revived once more later on in the search for Ray Palmer, Red Rain. Making his first appearance in 1992's Batman and Dracula Red Rain, check out the storyline for yourself and let me know what you think of it in the comments below. I personally love it.